Hey guys, it's Tiny Tom Logan back with another video for you, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Raiden series memory from Avexir, and it's the ROG certified stuff. Now if you follow me on Instagram, the link will be underneath and you can kind of follow the thing. Yeah, basically just search for Tiny Tom Logan on Instagram or Facebook. I posted up about these there yesterday to ask if you wanted to see these, or should I just basically put them on the Rush Kit channel. The Rush Kit channel is me too. Who knew? Anyway, we had a lot of people saying that they wanted to see these and hear my thoughts and all that type of thing. So I have had a play, I have had a look, and I do have some opinions. So I think you may want to stay around for this one because it may surprise you. But what we'll do is we'll have a look. We've got the box. It's actually quite a sturdy box. And one of the things I can say is it's all kind of sparkly. I'm not sure whether the camera's going to pick it up or not, but it's got kind of a pearly, kind of glittery effect to it. There's not really a great deal of information on there. Full power of ROG, yeah, we'll talk about that. But I've got the 4x4 gigabyte kit. They do come in other ones, 8 gigabyte kits. You can get 2x8, 4x8. So really, all of the kits are 2666, CAS 15 at 1.2 volts. The only difference really is whether they is the size of the sticks. But when we open them up, this is what we are greeted with, and it's just some plastic. I wouldn't say it's blister packaging because it does come apart quite easily. You've not got to like remove knuckles trying to get to it. But these are the sticks. Now I'm going to move everything around. Normally I would have you pointing down at the desk, but we're trying it a different way today, maybe unsuccessfully. But anyway, here we go. Right, so you can see down the side that we've got the ROG kind of Aztec detailing. You've got the ROG certified logo up here. Now this is like a light bar where you've got some effect, and I will show you it all lit up. But one thing I will say is if you have a look down the side here very carefully, and in fact maybe I'll bring you in, you can see that there is a silver line there. Now that's pretty much all of the metal in the design. There's one either side, and that is your heatsink. This is plastic. Now I'm going to put my mic in so that you can. Not exactly the best way to kind of show you, but I was immediately surprised with these. The second I got them out, they feel really light. Now lightweight is not necessarily a bad thing, but because it's plastic, I actually do think they feel cheap. And I'm totally undecided about them. So what we're going to do is we're going to put them in the board, we'll show you them lit up, and then I'm going to save the bulk of my thoughts for the conclusion at the end. So I've popped them in a board, and we've got the board on a stand just because it's easy to be able to kind of move it around so that we can have a look. But when we have a look straight on at the side, one thing that we can tell is that they are enormous. You would have, if you're going to be an air cooler, which, you know, there would be debate that air coolers are being phased out, but it doesn't matter. If you're an air cooler, you're going to need to make sure that you've got one that stays within the confines of the CPU area, because I don't think there's going to be any, if your air cooler comes off the side, these things are ginormous. I should really have got a tape measure out to measure how far they come away from the board, and now thankfully we're all in one place we can. They come away from the actual memory stick base itself 55 millimeters. If you go to the tallest edge, you're looking at 60 millimeters. So 55 millimeters here, about 60 millimeters from up there. So they protrude a lot from the board. You could say that that's a good thing because we get to see all the sexiness down the side, but you're obviously, the way that your memory looks is going to depend on the angles that you can see and view inside your inside your case and everything else. Now, when they're in there like that, I don't think they look too bad. We've got the black. It looks like the other Avexir memory that you can get. I use some white stuff in the old Sabranco board, and I actually personally really liked that. So from the kind of the view down, or a little look down the side, I don't think they look too bad. Jury is out on this bit, but let's face it, I was basing it all on like touching, and once it's in your system, you're not really going to do that, are you? But anyway, what we'll do is I'm now going to pop it in the system because we really need to see these lit up, don't we? So that we can get a good idea about the aesthetics. Okay, so we have them in and we have them on. Now I've chosen the board on purpose because the formula gives me a really nice redness, and it's a very deep red. So you can get the kind of idea there, and the camera's kind of blurring it out because these are kind of like, they're a pinky colour. When we zoom in, the camera sorts itself out, and that's pretty spot on. So when inside, you know, like in the old kind of scary films and stuff about scientists, they used to have those globes, the electric things. Well, that's essentially what we've got on the top. And when you kind of touch, it will bring it to your finger, and it is a cool effect. But the problem is next to the ROG red, it's pink or very washed out red, very kind of pastel-y, reddy, pinky kind of stuff. Now, the Raiden kind of the thing, they've done the red and the blue before, so it's not a new idea. But in this scenario, in a ROG setup with a very deep red, kind of very pronounced red, which is part of the branding, or at least it was, might be, I don't know. These just don't seem red enough. So I'm going to leave that at that. I think they're a bit washed out. It's not red enough. I get the point that they probably couldn't be that red because of the effect that's going on inside in the tubes. But that's now something for the conclusion. So I'll give you one more zoom in so that you can see the effect with the electric on the inside. You get the gist anyway. There we go, the camera sorted itself out. So you get the gist of what's going on. Now, I don't know about you, the whole touching it type of thing to get it to your fingers, yes, that is cool, but I would say that you shouldn't necessarily be jabbing your fingers against components in your rig when they're on. Okay then, peeps, so the Avexir Raiden ROG kit. I have some pretty strong thoughts on this, actually. Now, the aesthetics, I do believe you're either going to love them or you're going to hate them. If you need short memory, you've got worries about like AIOs coming down over your board and stuff like that, complete write-off. They are enormous. They are gigantic, great, big, huge memory sticks. Now, my thoughts come into it, like I said, pretty strongly. I found out the price for this kit that I've got is £200, and they are all about that sort of money, which is an awful lot of money for a memory kit. Doesn't matter what label you stick on the side, it's expensive. I looked around for similar spec kits, well, identically spec kits from other brands. The two I focused in on were Corsair and G-Skill, and I could get exactly the same spec kits for at least £60 less. And one of them was the Dominator Platinums. So when you're kind of talking about light up, big memory, they're one of the ones that just for me come straight to mind. The other one would be Clev. And Clevs, maybe not quite as cheap as that, but the Clevs are, are massive, and they're all made from metal, and they look $1 million. Now, the point that I was kind of trying to get in there was metal. G-Skill metal heat sinks, Corsair metal heat sinks, Clev metal heat sinks. These, they don't get hot, and I have stressed the bejesus out of them, but they, it's just the plastic on the outside. It does instantly, the second you put it in your hand, make it feel a bit cheap. And considering the price, those two things don't really kind of match. Now, we've got the 2666 spec that's on them. If you've got a ROG board, you can go into where your XMP bit is, and you can go to ROG certified, and it bumps them up to 2800. I personally think for a £200 kit that a 2666 or 2800, whichever way you want to swing it, is a bit safe and is a bit low. I personally think that, yes, 26 kit is all well and good, but I actually think that should be the absolute dregs of DDR4 of where you would like to go with them. Don't particularly think that you should go any lower than that for like a performance system. So as soon as you kind of mix that ROG branding in with it, I'm instantly thinking that they need to be quicker. Now you do have and this is where I go off on one of my rants, but you do have to think about the IMC on your CPU, because if you buy a 3200 megahertz kit and it won't run on your board, then it's actually more than likely 99.999 times out of 100 going to be your CPU that is the issue. The only way to kind of get around it is to get in your BIOS, get your hands dirty and set them up manually. That's if XMP doesn't work. But then, because you've got to think about the silicon lottery, they try and set these things for such a broad spectrum of CPUs that, you know, maybe dogs, maybe horrible, that, you know, that they can't nail it all down. Now, pretty much in the experience that I've had with DDR4, the only one that I've really had issues getting to run out of the box, at least with an Asus board anyway, because believe it or not, all of the brands do perform differently with different memory speeds, but we won't go into that. But 3600 with Asus is the point that sometimes they will run, just literally fit them, turn them on XMP and they work. But some of the lower end boards, sometimes you have to go in there and change things like the system agent voltage and the VCCIO. So with something like this, which is being pinned as being an Asus memory certified brand, I would actually say that Asus have been a bit limp-wristed and played far too safe with the speeds. I think that this would have been a better kit if it was out the box at 3000 and maybe you had a 3333 or a 3200 at least, a secondary BIOS that you could plumb in to go with that ROG certified nature. So essentially, I think the speeds are far too safe and not particularly worthy of the ROG branding. I don't think the build quality is either. Now you need to remember that I'm not taking a punt at Avexir about this, because they do 30,000 megahertz or 3,000 megahertz, 3,200 megahertz. So they do quick kits. This is just a low end one, an expensive one. The branding and the plastic, I'm not particularly a fan of that either. If it was metal, then you know, and it had a bit of weight to it and it felt quality, yeah, maybe it would have been worth 200 nicker. So the long and short of it is, I don't like them. If you were going to buy them, then you would end up buying them purely for the aesthetics, the fact that you've got that ROG Aztec down the side, and the light tube that goes down the middle. But again, problem with that light tube is it just comes up pink. It's not red enough. So I think, personally, from me, this is going to be one of those times where I go, you know, if you want to get it, and there's a lot of people on Facebook that I've seen and at Instagram that are like literally chucking their wallets at the screen and take my money. And if it's for you, brilliant. It's just not for me. But with a shocking one, I mean, you might end up seeing it at some point in a system that I take to a show or something, just to kind of like, you know, keep all the branding clean or something like that. But if it was for my personal rig that I was going to sit beside and all of that type of thing, day in, day out, and I had to use my own money, not on this one.